What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of F1 Fantasy Pole Position. It is Monday, June 2nd. My name is Ewan. On today's episode, I'm going to get into my Canadian Grand Prix team selection a little bit early, but I always like getting these videos out a little bit as soon as possible just to get my thoughts out and let the rest of the F1 Fantasy community know what I am thinking. I don't think it's going to be too different than what I've seen on X and other platforms so far. I think we've got another kind of template forming, but there are slight different variations that we can go with, so that will be exciting. But if you like what you're seeing in the paddock at F1 Fantasy Pole Position, do me a favor and drop a like on the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It always helps me out a ton. I did a race review last night, so you can go check that out on the channel as well. Cool down room, race review, whatever you want. Just an hour of debrief from the Spanish Grand Prix. Tons of fun. Talked about some Dua Lipa songs. I got a little soccer chat in there as well, but mostly about the Spanish Grand Prix. So thank you to anyone that was around. And always, I usually have 2 or 3 live streams every race week. So hopefully you can join me there. But without further ado, let's get into this week's content. Alrighty, kicking things off here. We're heading to Canada. We're headed to Montreal, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much. 14 corners, 70 laps, 3 DRS zones. Over the last 3 seasons, it's 17th for overtakes, but it's had 10 DNFs, so about 3.3 average per season. And the 2024 podium was Verstappen, Norris, and Russell. Mercedes went pretty well around here. If you remember in qualifying, that Russell and Verstappen actually had the exact same time, but Russell crossed the line before Verstappen, so he got pole position on that day. Ferrari, it was a bit of a disaster class. Sainz crashed out. Leclerc had a terrible strategy and came out with a power unit failure, I believe. And just overall was not great. Piastri didn't have a good day either, but as we've seen, he was 7th in Spain last year and won the whole thing yesterday. So Oscar Piastri is clearly on his ascendancy right now. I mean, it's hard to deny that when he's top of the World Drivers' Championship. But yeah, maybe we can't look at previous results too much when it comes to Piastri because he is taking a huge step up every season in F1 Fantasy. But I like this track. Let me know in the comments below if you like it. A little bit of a hybrid track, similar. I don't want to say similar, but kind of like Albert Park, where it is a track, but it's also kind of a city street track as well. But yeah, let me know where you'd class the Canadian Grand Prix in your kind of F1 calendar rankings. Going over to the Pirelli preview. Last year, they brought the C3, the C4, the C5. This year, they're going the C5, C6, and the C4. I did that in a weird order, but yeah, there we go. So yeah, the C6 has had mixed reviews so far. We had it in Imola. We had it in Monaco. We're going to see if teams have learned some more stuff. They got 2 weeks to kind of go over all the data. The triple header was back to back to back. So a lot of stuff flying every week. So we'll see if the squads have been able to kind of determine how to use this tire more appropriately. It hasn't had rave reviews the first couple of races it was used, but like I said, there's a couple of weeks until the Canadian Grand Prix at time of recording, so maybe teams will figure out what they want to do. We've seen some teams even qualify into Q3 on the C5 tire, the medium tire. Aston Martin did it. I believe Williams did it. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues in Canada. Over here, speaking of Canada, Canada, Lance Stroll, he missed the Spanish Grand Prix. Aston Martin came out with a statement saying that it was because of his 2023, or it's pain related to his 2023 surgery. However, the BBC.com reported that he had a little bit of a temper tantrum in the paddock after going out in Q2. He was half a second off of Alonso. Apparently, he wasn't happy. They're saying that he had a temper tantrum kind of, and then it wasn't related to the injury or something. I guess he was in a lot of pain. He was also in a little bit of trouble because he went straight to the medical tent instead of getting weighed through or going out through the pit lane, that sort of stuff on Saturday as well. So Lance Stroll is in a little bit of hot water, but he missed the Spanish Grand Prix. Apparently he's going to have an operation. We'll figure out what the timeline is and what Aston Martin is going to do, because they have some options, but it's all a little bit tricky. No, you see what I did there? Aston Martin, James Bond. Okay, see, figured it out. Felipe Drugovich, Stoffel Van Dorn, Jack Crawford, and I put Valtteri Bottas down here because A lot of people have kind of been saying like, "Oh, can't they just get him from Mercedes?" Like, that's not how that works. Mercedes has come out and said that they don't have a contract with Aston Martin like that. I believe they used to, and I believe that McLaren has a contract like that with Mercedes. Like, if Piastri or Lando were out, they could bring in Valtteri Bottas to the team as a kind of emergency. So Valtteri Bottas is not going to be racing for Aston Martin. Just want to clear that up. Drugovich, Van Doren, Crawford, all are reserve drivers in the team. Crawford is the F2 driver for Aston Martin, but he doesn't have enough super license points. So sounds like if Lance Stroll misses, Crawford's definitely not going to be in that. Van Doren races for their WEC team, their Le Mans team kind of. So he's booked on that Canadian Grand Prix weekend, as is Felipe Drugovich right now. But he is a guest appearance in the team. So my best guess would be that if Lance Stroll misses the Canadian Grand Prix, Drugovich is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to get in that F1 car. Sorry, Le Mans. Like, maybe I'll get you next year. So if for F1 fantasy purposes, I'm assuming Drugovich would just come in as an active driver at Lance Stroll's price. Lance Stroll would come in or would become an inactive driver. And then whenever Lance Stroll is able to race again, so there's 2 weeks till Canada and then there's 2 weeks until Austria. So even if he misses the Canadian Grand Prix, I would expect Lance Stroll to be back by Austria for like a month, because the first time he injured this wrist, he was back. He raced the first race of the season even after injuring it in preseason. So I think he missed preseason testing and then was able to race like 2 weeks later or whatever that was. So I would expect Drugovich to come in and then get made an inactive driver again for Austria. So I wouldn't be wasting any transfers bringing in any replacement driver. Does this mean that Lance Stroll is maybe a bigger risk of like a DNS or a DNF kind of thing throughout the season if this is like going on 2 years now that he has this wrist problem? Seen some wild conspiracies out there like, oh, he's never getting back in an F1 car. They're going to put him in the WEC team kind of thing. This is like clearing the decks for Verstappen or Sonoda with Honda or stuff like that. But that remains to be seen. But I do love a good conspiracy theory. So drop your best conspiracy theories in the comments below. But yeah, so kind of up in the air with Aston Martin. Obviously, I'm recording this Monday, June 2nd. So anything after this that comes out saying like he's definitely racing, you can kind of ignore this part and just skip ahead in the timestamps in the description below. Points versus budget was an interesting conundrum this week in F1 Fantasy. There's a lot of people wrestling with Liam Lawson versus Fernando Alonso. And overall, I think if you went with either of these options, you came out pretty well. But for points, you would have gone Alonso. For budget, you would have gone Lawson. And it just kind of depends on what your team needed. Alonso was popular because he's 4.5 million. He can't go down. And Spanish Grand Prix, driver of the day boost, all that sort of stuff. He has 14 points, didn't go up at all. Lawson had 9 points, went up 0.6 million. And now as we head into Canada, it's a little bit of a similar thing. I mean, Aston Martin is starting to look better over the last 3 races. Like Alonso's hit Q3 in the last 3 races, got his first points. So that's a great monkey off his back. Lawson was right there with him as well, battling for that 10th spot yesterday. It's been a bit of a struggle for these guys over the first part of the season here. As you can see, like 20th points per race for Alonso, 16th for points per race for Lawson. Those points per millions are actually incorrect. That did not update, which is frustrating. So sorry about that. But PPR without a DNF, Lawson 5.3, 17th. Alonso 5.4, 16th. So right above Lawson there. But points for a price rise in Canada, Liam Lawson's going to come in at -1 for a good price rise, 4 points for a great price rise. Alonso here, 15 points for a good price rise and 19 points for a great price rise. He just scored 14 points, but he was going up and down the field, yo-yoing, doing some insane overtakes at turn 3 yesterday at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, putting on quite a show for the people that were there, including Pop Pan Man Tom. So hopefully he had a great time in Barcelona. I think right now, let me know in the comments below what you think, but I'm still leaning with Liam Lawson. The thing is, I have Lawson, so I don't think it's worth a transfer to flip over to Alonso, even though Alonso may have a higher point scoring ceiling than Lawson. It feels like Lawson, he's within 5 points, and he looks like he's going to rise 0.6. Alonso, I think I'm happy to wait on Alonso for one more week to get into Alonso in Austria. When that negative 16 in Monaco drops off, he'll have the 14 in Spain, whatever he scores in Canada, and we'll just kind of go from there. But as you can see, like, Alonso's had some tough luck. 4 DNFs already this season, negative 13 in Miami and negative 16 in Monaco. So he hasn't really gone more than 3 races in a row without a DNF. If he can get that in Canada, then it's game on for Austria at 4.5 million. He'll likely rise for a couple of races there, especially with a 14 points in Spain. Lawson, 7 in Monaco, 9 in Spain. If he hits like another like 5 or 6 points in Canada, he could be an easy hold for Austria as well. But both of these guys had pretty good weekends, but they were outshined. What's the right word there? By Hulk smash, Nico Hulkenberg. There was no way I was going to get into a Canadian Grand Prix without slightly touching on what Nico Hulkenberg did. Shout out to Zach GP, who kept Hulkenberg in his squad, so he had 3 free transfers to the Canadian Grand Prix. 32 points, 5.3 points per million, went up 0.6. The 32 points and the 5.3 points per million are the highest among all B-tier drivers this season. So great job by Nico Hulkenberg. 8.2% of the patron top 500 in the F1 Fantasy Tools Discord had him, so great job by them. And price rise for Canada, negative 12 for a good price rise, negative 6 for a great price rise, and then points for price rise in Austria here. So if he hits the negative 12, he needs negative 1 for a good price rise and 5 for a great price rise in Austria. And if he hits the negative 6, he needs 0 points for a good price rise, or negative 6 points for a good price rise and 0 points for a great price rise in Austria. So just maddening, insane numbers from Nico Hulkenberg. 32 points, absolutely wild. Can't believe he didn't win driver of the day. I had to tweet about it yesterday. I'm kind of already over it because it is what it is. They cut it off before any of the incidents happened. Let me know in the comments below, do you think that Max Verstappen winning driver of the day yesterday was worse than when Lando Norris won it last year in Austria? That was the only one I could think of where it was like, oh my God, that guy didn't even finish the race, and Lando won driver of the day. So that was wild. So I know there's going to be some rants going on this week, maybe from Rain Fantasy as well. So check that out if you get a chance. But yeah, Hulkenberg deserved it, but it is what it is with the bots and stuff like that. But just please lower those points for driver of the day. Even if you don't want to take it out, 5 points, 3 points, something needs to be done. But Nico Hulkenberg, incredible performance. He is going to be the most popular transfer in F1 Fantasy because he is going to have such an easy route to some price rises over the next, at least in Canada, and as long as things don't go disastrously wrong in Canada, Austria as well. So you can bring him in for a couple of races and get him as quite an easy price riser. But speaking of bringing in Hulkenberg, let's get over to some team selection. Alrighty here. So here's the squad. Piastri, Lawson, Colapinto, Bortoleto, and Hadjar, 2 free transfers, 112.8 million. Just to go over how I did in Canada, 274 points, very templatey team, but another like 10,000 rise in the rankings. So 15K, the season is back on track after playing Limitless. Is this what it feels like to have back-to-back good weeks in F1 Fantasy? I have not experienced this yet this season. So hopefully we're going 3 for 3 next week in Canada. 2 free transfers feels quite luxurious. 5.9 million in the bank, so like can really go anywhere. And as we head over here to the F1 Fantasy Tools budget builder to kind of identify who we're looking at, this is sorted by price right now, but we're going to go by points here. Hulkenberg going to be very popular. Hadjar, Lawson, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Ocon, Behrman, Alonso. The Haas team looked pretty shaky in Spain, so I think as of right now they're probably out of my thoughts. I'd have to see them kind of pick something back up. Alonso, like very good point scoring ceiling, maybe like third behind Hadjar, second behind Hadjar, and like 2A, 2B with Alonso. I know it's kind of weird to say that coming off of a Nico Hulkenberg 32-point performance, But like, I'm not expecting Hulkenberg to get 30 points as a season high. Like, I think last week I was actually saying, like, I don't know if I'd bring him in because like his highest is 20 points this season in Australia, and he hasn't even like touched double digits since then. Ooh, that is a cold take exposed. But Hulkenberg, Hadjar, Lawson, all going to be very popular to bring in. I mean, Hadjar is probably widely owned, 92.8, 95% in the patron top 500 behind Piastri. Colapinto's right there, Lawson's right there, Bortoletto's right there. So yeah, budget building wise, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, I can get any of these assets out. The thing I'll kind of be wrestling with over the next couple of weeks is, do I bring in Alonso for points purposes and then potential future budget rises? Or do I try to squeeze one more somehow clean week out of Colapinto here and 2 points for a good price rise and 6 points for a great price rise? If I can get a great price rise out of Franco Colapinto and then in Austria, just flip him right over to Fernando Alonso at 4.5 million, I will be a happy chappy, because then I can get rid of Colapinto, who personally, like, if his name was Jack Doohan, he'd be out at the sea already. So it is what it is. But so I think my move right now, I don't really love getting rid of Bortoletto, because like 6 points here, it'll probably come down to who looks better in the free practices in Canada. Is it going to be Alpine, who've been struggling a little bit, or Sauber, who's flying high after Spain? Bortoletto said that he got the new package on his car on Saturday, and yeah, had his best qualifying result and his best race result as a result of that. So it's kind of hard to kind of go against him there, but it'll probably be one of Colapinto or Bortoletto out for Nico Hulkenberg, and that might be it for me as a F1 fantasy manager. And then roll to have 3 free transfers in Austria. You collect more data from like the flexi wing changes and stuff like that. If you're watching this, I mean, even on replay, you can watch the next episode, but I'm actually going to have Terry from Coffee Corner Motorsport and Fan Amp Fantasy on this week to talk about some of those changes and just like what happened in Spain, if there's anything we can take up. But I think it's just going to be the one move for me. Like right now, if the deadline was right now at 7:30 in the morning Germany time on Monday, June 2nd, this would be the squad I lock in. Bortoletto, Colapinto will be up in the air, but really just I'm going to keep Lawson, keep Hadjar, Ferrari, McLaren, no reason to get rid of them. Piastri is the best bang for your buck option in the game, and maybe just the best option overall. He's got the best car, pulled out another win in Spain yesterday, so great job by him. But yeah, it could be a very luxurious week where I can just roll. I might have to cost myself a little bit of points if I avoid Alonso here, but picking up in Austria just in case like that reliability issue that seemed to have plagued Aston Martin spikes up again in Canada. I'd rather just have that and then bring in Alonso for the price rise in Austria a couple of weeks after Canada. So, but I think that'll probably be it for my T1 team. Maybe there'll be like practice results, like stuff coming out over the Thursday and Friday next week, and what we see in free practice. Obviously, I got to get my schedule together for what streams and stuff like that will be, but yeah, I think right now it'll be rolling a transfer in F1 Fantasy. But that'll do it for this week's episode of F1 Fantasy Pole Position, the team selection video for the Canadian Grand Prix. I will be back with one more episode this week, and then next Monday there'll be the transfer targets, and then we'll get into the Q&A stream and all that. But like I said at the top of the episode, if you liked what you've seen in the F1 Fantasy Pole Position paddock, drop a like on the video, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We went over 3,200 subscribers before the Spanish Grand Prix, so I really appreciate everyone that is supporting the channel. But if you're watching this and you haven't, hit that subscribe button. It really, really helps me out. And all those F1 Fantasy Tools kind of features that I showed you earlier in the episode, you can get 50% off your first month with code EWIN50. So make sure to check that out as well. And yeah, just quick turnaround for my team selection video, but a nice little break coming up as we kind of regroup from the triple header. Let me know how your team did in Spain, what your thoughts are for the Canadian Grand Prix, and you can hit me up on X at F1 Fantasy Ewan. But that'll do it. So once again, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.